So with the most recent UFC press conference at UFC 306 ending in less than 30 minutes and being cut off before anything eventful could even happen, it got me thinking about just the state of press conferences and build-ups and rivalries and media questions, and it's just all gone downhill over the years. So today I wanted to look back at some of the best rivalries and highlight the best press conference moments and obviously the fights, because it just used to be so much better, I feel like. And we have to blame the MMA media. We have to hold them accountable. They're so bad. They ask the same questions every single time. How are you feeling going into this fight? What would it mean to you to get this win? How does it feel to fight in your hometown? Like, shut up! Say something else, please! Just ask questions that are going to create conflict and funny moments between the fighters and funny reporter versus fighter moments. But no, we don't get them anymore because every reporter just wants to be every fighter's best friend. So that kind of ruins it, and we get no good media questions anymore. And just especially recently, I feel like just most press conferences are a waste of time to watch, and I forget about them some weeks. I really do. I'll see it live randomly on YouTube and be like, oh shit, this is actually a thing. I forgot it even existed because of how bad it is. I really don't know how we fix the media problem, to be honest. I mean, we can't just fire everyone and rehire new ones. I don't think that's going to work. But I don't know. Like, just tell them, the reporters, to get better at their job. I don't get it. Ask questions that are going to antagonize the fighters against one another. And I just don't understand why we're going through all of this trouble to get all the fighters in one place, which is definitely not an easy thing to do when they're all cutting weight and miserable. You get them all in one place, you give people free reins to ask them whatever they want, and they just don't do anything with it. We'll start with probably the most memorable of recent time, Izzy versus Pereira. And yeah, what do I need to say? This was just, it had everything. It had really good history, which is why the fight got made in the first place. They had two crazy fights with both being fun to watch and with two badass finishes. And the press conferences were all entertaining and eventful. And yeah, having fought twice in kickboxing definitely was the reason this fight happened and fueled the fire for Izzy especially, because he really wanted this win back. Izzy can be very cringe at times, but you gotta at least give him credit for making some fun things to laugh at. His one-liners are kind of fun to laugh at.
Touch him enough times. I'll touch him enough times, and eventually he'll crumble like the Twin Towers. Too soon? You know, I'm fresh. It's the pretty ones you got to watch out for.
It's also insane how much of a star Alex has become off of these fights, obviously. He doesn't even speak English. He just says chama and a few Portuguese threats, and he's a star. He's the main character of the UFC all of a sudden.
Olá, Brasil, mais aí pra conta, mais uma vitória, passo muito importante na minha carreira. Agradeço todos aí vocês que estão sempre na torcida por mim. Muito obrigado mesmo de coração. Chama!
And Izzy didn't have to force the bad blood. He really wanted this one back after all the history they had in kickboxing. So he was fired up, and I do believe the Izzy we saw in these two fights was the best, most locked-in Izzy we've ever seen. But it wasn't enough in the first fight, losing to TKO by Alex. But I do think it was controversial. Yes, I do think that to this day. I don't know how people feel about that now, to be honest. But, I mean, we just saw Daniel Zellhuber literally dodge and weave basically out on his feet for over a minute. And Izzy, the champion, the reigning champion, only got like 10 to 20 seconds to do that. He trips, and then he does that for like 10 to 15 seconds. It was an early stoppage, guys. It should have went on a little longer. I will stand by that. And then the second fight, where Izzy was winning the first one by points, was all of a sudden getting battered with the leg kicks and losing the second fight. But then he lands the most clutch 1-2 of MMA history. Saved his career, saved the rivalry with Alex, making us want a trilogy that we may never get, which is pretty sad. And yeah, he knocked out Alex more brutally than in any of their past bouts. Yeah, this one is so fun to look back on. The fights are just so fun to watch, and it's one of the best rivalries in MMA history. I really hope we get a trilogy one day before they both retire, but I just can't see that happening because I really can't see Alex coming back down to 185, and I do not believe Izzy wants to fight Alex at 205. He just get completely outsized and destroyed, I think. All right, moving on. Now we got to talk about my favorite rivalry of all time. Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. This one is just a fucking classic. Damn, I missed the Usman era. It was so fun. It was so overhated. Way better than fucking the Leon era, that's for sure. The build-up in these two were both great. The fights were both great. And you had Colby Covington, who was actually still funny and confident and still had high test, who could say his little one-liners that he rehearsed beforehand without stuttering, which he cannot really do anymore, sadly.
To warfare that maybe, it's going to affect his performance on Saturday?
Sweet bed sheets. Dude, what happened to your hair, man?
So the hate was definitely real here. They did not like each other. And Kamaru did not let that negatively affect him. He used it as fuel, and he used it well. But Colby would not let up, just constantly verbally attacking him any chance he got. Even attacking him when Usman was working the fucking desk job at the UFC. Like, come on, that shit was great.
No one cares about you. No one cares about you. You're pathetic.
You care about me?
No, yeah, because you got the worst decision in the history of the sport.
No, I didn't
Against me. Oh, yeah, no, you didn't. I stood right up. That wasn't even close. No, Marty Fake Newsman. You didn't break my face. I got right up and protested right away. That was a fake stoppage, fake rep, fake fight. Wait till I see you next time. Wait till I see you next time, Marty Fake Newsman. You're dead. You're dead. You got unfinished business.
Really?
You better show up.
Really?
I'm coming for you.
You said that last time. What happened?
Yeah, wait till this time. Yo.
I miss when Colby was actually funny and could back up all the shit talk he talked. But now it's just kind of cringe and sad because he can't back it up and he just kind of loses. I don't know. It's just kind of whack. He also never fucking fights, and he's ducking Ian Gary somehow. I don't know how that happened. Come on, Colby. How you going to duck Ian Machado Ferry? But he did, and he's inactive as fuck. That's the biggest problem with his career right now. And damn, these fights lived up to the hype that was built up from those build-ups because they were insane. Both of them just back and forth in the first one, just constantly rocking each other. Two wrestlers who agreed to strike only. Yeah, you gotta respect them for saying, let's just strike. They clearly wanted to hurt each other in there. Colby fucking breaking his damn jaw in the first fight was crazy. Getting KO'd by Usman, but then impressively coming back in the second fight to go to decision. A very close decision that Usman ended up getting. But a lot of people thought Colby should have got it, and honestly, it's definitely an argument that Colby won 3 rounds. And I know a lot of people like to bag on Colby and say that he's best known for losing to Kamaru twice. That's his best achievement. But, I mean, you still have to give him credit for having 2 pretty competitive fights with the second best welterweight of all time. So, I don't really understand that critique. Then we have one of the most cold-blooded and most real rivalries, DC versus Jones. Yeah, these guys definitely hated each other's guts and definitely still do. Especially DC, he's still salty as shit, which he has every right to be.
He's a bitch, and he said something about my kids, so I smacked him in the face with a water bottle.
Oh, yeah, you...
It was crazy at the time. All the fans did not care. They didn't give a fuck. They sided with Jones, and they booed DC the whole build-up of both fights. They did not care that Jones was the villain who was he was fucking up everything-wise. Cormier was just trying to be a real good champ for them, and Jones was 3 months sober, and they were all celebrating, cheering him at the press conference. It was just one big fucking pity party. Crazy. And yeah, I'd be pissed too if I was DC, and the whole time my opponent was cheating in the biggest rivalry of both of our careers, but people still bag on him for being salty. He's allowed to be salty, okay? And we obviously all know what happened. Jones ended up beating DC by super dominant decision in the first one, and then KO him in the second one with a vicious head kick, followed by some ground and pound. Yeah, crazy, depressing ending. The villain won both fights, and the hero got cheated out of it both. I got to watch him cry at the end of it in the octagon because Joe Rogan had to interview him. That shit was just terrible.
I guess.
And I know there's a bunch of clips nowadays of Jones trying to talk to DC and act all fake. Jones is the fakest motherfucker ever. He is so fake. He was faking these build-ups, trying to be the Nike athlete, the guy who's coming back. reformed and a good guy. No, he's a bad guy, and everybody knows that, and that's okay. Then we got to talk about a very obvious one, Conor versus Poirier. One where we still might see a fourth fight down the line, maybe if Conor ever fights again. I don't know. Who knows if that'll ever happen, because it ain't looking good, boys. It's really not. So, Conor fans, it's time to wrap it up. Move on to someone else. But yeah, this one's basically a movie. This is as movie as it gets, as Hollywood as it gets. They fought way back in the day. Conor knocked him out. They fought again. Everyone thought Conor was going to win, and well, actually, I don't know if that's true, but Conor was overlooking him, little peahead Poirier, and Conor got knocked out, and Poirier became a star that night. And then they had to have a trilogy, obviously, because Conor gets whatever he wants, and Poirier is obviously going to take a second money fight. So they do that, and the controversial leg stoppage, your wife is in me DMs moment, it's all crazy viral, it's all crazy everything. It was just such a good rivalry. It was so fun. It was so funny. And it still might not be over, so I'm down to see him fight again, and I'm down. For Conor, these press conferences were honestly not that good, especially the first, or I guess the second fight they had. It was just Conor being really nice to him, which was really weird. He's never really done that before, and it just kind of showed he was really overlooking Dustin. He just could not imagine losing to P-Head Poirier after everyone he's beat, and yeah, he got knocked the fuck out because Dustin's got that dog and Conor didn't anymore. Now, what Dustin needs to do is fight Colby instead of fighting Conor again. We must see Colby versus Dustin. That would be so fun. And I guess we might as well throw in Conor versus Nate while we're here, because this one was funny. This is probably the most funny build-up of all time. Just Nate being Nate. Just smoking weed at press conferences. Stupid little petty fight altercations between the two, just throwing water bottles at each other. It's so funny. It was just so goofy at the same time.
Count to 5, Nate, will you, if you can?
You count.
Who you up with that coffee?
I ain't counting. How about
and
that?
who do you up with that coffee?
Yeah, these guys have two of the most fun fights to watch. Just both of them scrapping. Yeah, I'm not really going to talk much in depth about Conor's, because it's really all the same with him, just verbally attacking all of his opponents at the press conferences and any chance he can get with everything he has, and tries to win the mental game at any cost, which he usually does. I'd say there's only been one time and one person who he really couldn't negatively affect with his trash talk, and that was Khabib, who's obviously next. Conor versus Khabib obviously has to be mentioned. Probably the most heated beef, maybe slightly under Jones versus DC or slightly over. I don't know, it's close, but this one was definitely very real too. In the octagon, just constant beef the whole time. They were sitting in their corners, yelling at each other. It was crazy. They did not like each other. They wanted to fucking kill each other.
What are you talking about? Your wrestling is zero. Your grappling is zero. I'm gonna mow you.
Let's wrestle, kid.
Let's wrestle. Let's wrestle.
And this was the one time where Conor really couldn't negatively affect his opponent with the mental game. He definitely got in Khabib's head, but it didn't affect Khabib the way Conor thought it would and wanted it to. If anything, it just fueled him and made him smash Conor even harder. But yeah, these press conferences are classic. Just broken English Khabib versus drunk Conor. It was perfect. I wish we got a second fight, but just with the one fight we had with these two, it was such a crazy rivalry. It was so real. It was so memorable. Still, I think the highest selling pay-per-view of all time. Just insane. Something like this will never be replicated, and just another reason. Like, the reporters were asking Khabib, what do you think of Conor disrespecting you and your religion? And Conor would fucking ante up the reporter and try to start stuff between them. It was just like, it was amazing, and we're missing so much of that in the UFC right now. But yeah, honestly, that's it, guys. You can tell I'm running out of ideas on these dry weeks. Like, come on, UFC, give me some more news, or just barely any news. The only news is fighters pulling out, like Aljo pulling out. Now we got Volkov pulling out. Cards are falling apart before our eyes. It's happened all year long. It's going to keep happening, unfortunately. Yeah, the next video will probably be the predictions for the Benoit Moicano card because, yeah, there's really not much else to talk about, and that card's pretty good, so I definitely want to do an in-depth breakdown of that. But, yeah, go watch that when it's out. I'll see you guys in the next one.